What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ben on Sports. I promise I have some other stuff coming down the pipeline. I'll get in the gear and get it out, but for now, we are continuing with the weekly preview series of NASCAR in 2026, just like last NASCAR season. And without further ado, let's get into it. Storylines going into Atlanta. I still call it Atlanta. I know it's EchoPark. I'm going to call it Atlanta because I still think most people know it as that name better. Obviously, biggest storyline, Tyler Reddick wins the Daytona 500 with a big move coming out of turn 4. 23XI gets their first Daytona 500. Michael Jordan joins Brad Daugherty as two former NBA All-Stars to win a Daytona 500. What an interesting trivia question that would be. But Tyler Reddick wasn't seen up front too much during the race and finds a way to get the win. Last lap chaos, the beginning of the last lap, massive wreck. And NASCAR, unlike what they used to do, didn't call it the caution. They said it was cleared out enough and we're going to race to the end. I'm glad that it worked out okay to do it that way because everybody would rather them race to the end than have the Daytona 500 end under caution. And that's what happened. But it was two pretty big wrecks that took out a lot of competitors. And Tyler Reddick finds his way through. And some of the top 5 finishers were wrecking themselves as they came across the line. Somebody like a Brad Keselowski. Last lap chaos, Tyler Reddick wins the race. Don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the NASCAR news this week, but Chris Gabehart, what's going on? Former competition director, former crew chief for Denny Hamlin at JGR. And JGR opens up a lawsuit accusing him of taking sensitive and information, team secret information about car setups and different things like that, taking pictures, adding it to a shared folder. They have all of this evidence in the lawsuit and accusing him of taking it with him to spy motorsports industry secrets, one could say. Seems like this lawsuit might actually have some legs to it. Not a good look for Chris Gabehart. Could see some punishment and legal trouble coming down the pipe for him. Certainly something to watch. NASCAR can't stay out of the legal system these last couple of years. Fuel mileage racing has to go. Yes, there was a good finish to the 500, but people forget during large portions of that race, the people in first place are running, 50, 60% throttle. The lapse times were 3 to 4 seconds closer as what they could have been when you're running full speed. That's not acceptable. Desperately, NASCAR needs to figure out a way to fix it. There's a lot of solutions being thrown around. There's a lot of theory in there from former drivers, current drivers, people who have been around the sport for a long time. I don't know which one will work the best. I don't know the best solution necessarily, but this fuel mileage racing has to go. We need to start enforcing that drivers need to be going 100% all the time because it is ridiculous otherwise. Fuel mileage racing has to go. Force these drivers to get moving where people can't just sit in the back and fuel save for entire green flag runs, or a manufacturer gets out front of all 3 lines of traffic and slows them down where nobody can pass. That also can't happen. No rain delay this year. 2 years ago, the race was raced on Monday. Last year, the big 5-hour rain delay. How many hours it was a long time. This year, no rain delay. Good job by NASCAR moving that up. There was some trickles starting to come down at the end of the race, but NASCAR was still able to get the whole race in. Great job moving the race up so there was no rain delay. Sometimes that kind of kills your momentum. Although, this year, there seemed to be less views than last year during the rain delay. I wonder how much of that could have been with like Olympic competition or something like that. It is the one in every 4 years where the Olympics are competing with the Daytona 500. Layoff of Michael Jordan. There's been some weird, I don't think it's mostly these long-term fans. I don't know, maybe some, and I think some of it is non-NASCAR fans, but a lot of talk about Michael Jordan and Tyler Reddick's son in victory lane after the race, and this weird, what people are calling a weird touching or something like that. Listen, I'm not going to pretend to know the situation. I think it's between the Reddick family and the Jordan family, but Tyler Reddick came out and said they all have a great relationship with each other. It wasn't weird. He was okay with it. And there's a lot of theories getting pushed around, but at the end of the day, I think if the Reddick family had an issue, they'd say something. And I think you can tell that the relationship between Michael Jordan and a lot of the drivers and the families on the team are close. And to me, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. I think people are blowing it way out of proportion. And I don't think it's necessarily the NASCAR people, but I just wanted to get out and say people need to calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Clearly, you haven't been around families that are close, workplaces that are close. Just, and I don't know. I think it's an absolutely nothing story, and I think we should stop talking about it. I know I'm talking about it, so that's funny, but let me know in the comments if you saw that and how you felt about it, and if you think it's as silly as I do. And then finally, my biggest takeaway from Daytona: these back markers and part timers killed the race in some ways, and we need to start getting more strict about it. Because, listen, everybody has a right to race, but when you can't hold the line 3 wide as a back marker and you're not used to running up front, and you not being able to hold a line wrecks some of the good cars. I mean, I went back and I watched some of these accidents. You had Cody Ware not being able to run in the middle of 3 wide, bouncing off of Ross Chastain, and then takes out Briscoe, and I think Ty Gibbs. Austin Dillon got involved. Multiple contenders got taken out in that wreck. You have Justin Allgaier, somebody that should know better, but makes an awful block trying to block Denny Hamlin. And when he makes that awful block trying to block Denny Hamlin, all of a sudden, a lot more contenders go out of the race. And I think there was one more that is escaping me right now, but it's to me, I don't know. I think there should be some rules. Like, back markers obviously are full charter teams, but it's just so frustrating. And it's a racing deal, right? Like, there's probably not really too much of anything you can do, because it is just sometimes how racing is. You know, it's sometimes how racing is. Sometimes you get screwed by a back marker or a part timer. And that happened, I think, too many times, and took away some of the most competitive cars in the race and took them out. You could even argue maybe Riley Herbst at the end of the race. Which, let's talk about that for a second. Riley Herbst has been a very good super speedway racer in the Xfinity Series, but other than that, he hasn't done much in the Cup Series. And you got to credit a guy trying to get his first career Cup Series win after a bad rookie season. And to me, I think it wasn't the wrong move to make. I think he made it too late. Causes Brad Keselowski to wreck, causes Chase Elliott to wreck, and then gives Tyler Reddick the win. I don't think it's any collusion from teammates. I think it's just a racing mistake from somebody, a young driver, trying to win his first race and trying to win the Daytona 500, and just hesitated too much, leading to a wreck. But too many back markers and part-timers with dumb moves or not being able to handle basic movements, I think, killed that race. All right, enough of the storylines. I've been yapping too long. Let's get into what everybody actually cares about, previewing Atlanta. In the Next Gen Series, there is multiple two-time winners. William Byron, Chase Elliott, Joe Logano were the first 3 winners. And actually, William Byron won the 4th race. You had Daniel Suarez in that memorable finish. And then you had Christopher Bell winning this race last year. And then Logano, Byron, and Elliott have all won multiple races. 6 of the 8 races have been won by 3 drivers. And as you can see, all but one of the race wins here was from very good teams, from the best teams in NASCAR. I do think that it could be of note. Best average finish, the hometown boy at the hometown track, 9.1 for Chase Elliott. Ryan Blaney hasn't made it to victory lane, just barely missed out. 10.9 average finish. AJ Allmendinger, 11.3. Kyle Busch, 13.3. And Daniel Suarez, 13.9. Most top 5s, 2 drivers tied with 4 top 5s in 8 races, Ryan Blaney and Daniel Suarez, which is funny when you remember they were both part of that incredible finish in 2014 between Suarez, Busch, and Blaney. Christopher Bell, a lone 2nd place, 4th or 3rd place, depending on how you view ties. Christopher Bell with 3 top 5s. And then 11 drivers are tied for 2 top 5s. Corey LaJoie, Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Kyle Busch, and Austin Cindric. That is a big group of drivers that all have 2 top 5 finishes. And then most top tens, Ryan Blaney was 6 top tens in 8 races. You got to think Ryan Blaney is going to be up front a lot. Fords seem to love drafting tracks, and they've really seemed to like Atlanta. They haven't gotten in victory lane as much as maybe you expect. The Chevy has done a great job finding a way to win these, but Fords usually have good speed. Most top tens, 2 drivers tied at 5, Daniel Suarez and Kyle Busch. And then 3 drivers tied at 4, and Chase Elliott, Ricky Stenhouse, and Ross Chastain. And you see Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch all over these stats, but they still haven't won a race. And both of those guys look good on a drafting track last week. I would be looking at putting both of those guys as first-time winners on this new layout at Atlanta EchoPark Speedway. Speaking of winning, favorites to win. For once, I don't have a Ford team first place at a drafting track. Give me Hendrick Motorsports. They've won 4 of the 8 races here. Chevy's looked really good at this track. They've looked good at a lot of drafting tracks, even if they don't qualify top 5, which they started to anyway. They are still finding ways to be fast and competitive. Give me Hendrick first, followed by the expected Team Penske. Joe Gibbs Racing is starting to bring more speed to drafting tracks. They won this race last year. I think Joe Gibbs is getting better and better in the next-gen era drafting tracks. And Toyota as a whole, I mean, Reddick has won at Daytona and Talladega. Bell won Atlanta last year. Briscoe won Talladega last year. And I know Atlanta's not exactly like Daytona or Talladega, but it's still that same type of racing, just on a smaller track that needs more handling. So I think Joe Gibbs and Toyota as a whole are getting better. Give me 23XI there. Reddick, multiple next-gen super or drafting track race wins. Bubba Wallace is very good at this type of racing, and it's the only type of racing Riley Herbst has found regular success in at the Cup Series. I think 23XI is a dark horse. And then 5th here, RFK was high on the list. Spire is high on the list. Hocevar was good here last year. Suarez is now at Spire, won here last year. Spire seems to have speed on these tracks. Like I said, RFK always a threat, but give me Trackhouse. Ross Chastain has won here. Not won here, but Ross Chastain has been very good here, almost won here. Daniel Suarez won his race with Trackhouse. Trackhouse had some drafting track speed last week, and I think Trackhouse could be a threat to win Atlanta again. And then individual driving rankings. Ryan Blaney has been the best driver on this track that hasn't won here yet. Give me Ryan Blaney to be in the mix all day and win this race. Chase Elliott and William Byron have both won 2 races here. Both have been very, very good here in the new configuration. I think they're a big threat this week. Joey Logano also has won here twice. He is also a threat. I think those are your top 4 that you're going to see mixing it up in the front all day, trying to get stage points and win the race. Denny Hamlin, I think it's a matter of time before he wins a drafting track in the next gen. Was so good in the previous gen car at winning drafting tracks. Does not have a next gen drafting track win, but he's found so much speed. He's been consistently good at all 3 of the drafting tracks in the next gen car. Just hasn't quite gotten in the victory lane. I still give him a good chance at that this week. Ross Chastain has almost won at Atlanta in this configuration. Ross Chastain, it suits his driving style. I think Ross Chastain is fast this week. Tyler Reddick coming off that win last week, forcing me to bump him in to the top 10. I think Tyler Reddick, even if he hangs out in the back for a little bit, will find his way towards the front. Austin Cindric has some good performances here. He's the last one of those Penske drivers. I still think Austin Cindric is one of, if not the best drafting track racer in the Cup Series. Just seems to have bad luck at Atlanta, but would not be shocked at all to see him run up front and win this race. Carson Hocevar finished second in this race last year. He was leading the Daytona 500 coming to the white flag and then starts that first wreck, gets wrecked out at the end of the front straightaway going into turn 1. Carson Hocevar, another aggressive driver who will look to force the issue this week and potentially win. And then last but not least, the guy who's almost won here, performed so well, was the fastest last week at Daytona 500 in terms of qualifying speed, and I expect Kyle Busch and another Chevy car to be fast. The Chevys have seemed to perform well at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I know the Fords have qualified well, but when it comes to actually in-race speed and winning the race, Chevy has dominated this new configuration. I expect Kyle Busch to be fast and look to break the super long winless drought. And finally, my power rankings after last week. It's hard not to have Tyler Reddick first. Tyler Reddick winning the Daytona 500. You can only go into one spot. You're already a former regular season champion. Tyler Reddick should have speed and quickly getting on the board here after not winning a race last year, getting in victory lane at the Daytona 500. Tyler Reddick, number one. Chase Elliott ran really, really well last week at qualified well, stayed out front, was in contention to win the race, and maybe if he gets the right push, he does win the Daytona 500. Chase Elliott had a lot of speed going into his hometown track where he has won multiple times and is always fast. Hard not to have Chase Elliott too. William Byron was in contention coming out of going to the final lap before he kind of lost control a little bit in fourth place, trying to dodge some wrecking cars, but was fast last week. He's also won here twice. William Byron is one of my favorites to win this week. Joey Logano, or Denny Hamlin is first. I have at 4, was fast all week, got in the 2 wrecks that ultimately caused the end of his day, but he was up front. He was a great pusher. He's good at drafting tracks. I think Denny Hamlin's going to have something for the field this week. Joey Logano has won here twice, was fast, found a way to get a top 5 finish despite some quite a few things happening, is what I'll say. Give me Joey Logano. You've heard me talk about Ryan Blaney. He was fast, didn't get the finish he deserved last week. Chris Buescher quietly came around to a top 10. RFK still had speed in those cars. Chris Buescher, I have Chase Briscoe down here at 9. Chase Briscoe was leading that race. He and Denny Hamlin looked really, really good out front together. Those Joe Gibbs Toyotas look like they're getting faster and faster. Chase Briscoe was a really, really good car. Looked like he was going to win stage 1, and then 10 cars were able to stay out on fuel, and he was not. That strategy got him back, and then he gets caught up in somebody else's wreck. But I think Chase Briscoe might be a driver, might be joining that upper echelon where that team finds ways to bring speed every single week. Bubba Wallace, disappointed he wasn't up front and with a chance to win that race late. But Bubba Wallace did get a top 10 finish. It could have been much worse. A lot of other championship contenders are starting at a major points disadvantage after that Daytona 500. Bubba Wallace, I have 10th. Solid points day for Bubba. Christopher Bell was out front at times, but not consistently. I have him dropped. Can he repeat as a spring Atlanta winner? Ross Chastain, another guy that had speed, didn't get the finish he deserved, got caught up in a wreck. But he's going to have speed this year. I think Trackhouse is going to be more consistent this year than last. I think this is a racetrack Ross Chastain likes. Give me Ross Chastain at 12th. I'm keeping Ryan Preece at 13. He was out front for a little bit, got caught up in a mess, still won the Clash. I still think there's momentum for Ryan Preece this year, and I don't think it's quite going yet. Keeping him in the top 15. Kyle Busch moving into the top 15, showed speed all week. Had that dropped out of the top 20 and literally pulls out a line, avoids the wreck that he called was going to happen, and still finds a way to get a solid finish, led some laps. Kyle Busch into the top 15 on speed. Josh Berry just had a solid day, found a way to get a top 10. Can Josh Berry finally have a good day at Atlanta and continue the momentum he has? Alex Bowman wrecked out, had a bunch of speed before he wrecked out, though. Again, Alex Bowman is a sneaky contender on these drafting tracks. I think it's only a matter of time before he wins one, and has had some pretty good wins at Atlanta. I expect good things from Alex Bowman this week. Shane Van Gisbergen found his way to the front, led some laps. Another one of those drivers that was fast, but could lead a line, but things outside of his control happened. Let's just say Shane Van Gisbergen proved that he's getting better on ovals, and I think he's starting to figure out this whole drafting track situation. Shane Van Gisbergen still firmly in the top 20. Carson Hocevar had so much speed. Can they consistently bring it? Who knows? Carson Hocevar, there's so much speed, leading, coming to the white flag, and then got wrecked and had a bad finish. But Hocevar proven he can find his way to the front. He did last year, but I think this year he could be even more consistent in that. Hocevar joining the top 20. Brad Keselowski almost had a chance to win until Riley Herbst cleared himself high. He was not clear Rex Brad Keselowski. Brad still gets a top 5 finish despite getting pushed and wrecked into the wall. Brad is going to be a threat to win this week, especially after the heartbreak of thinking he had a chance at his first Daytona 500. And then last but not least, Austin Cindric has had quite a few good runs here in the past. I think he will have another fast car. It just will be, do they get the right luck? Do they get the right brakes? But I expect Austin Cindric to bring some speed. Drop down after a not great week in any stretch last week. Yeah. I'm Austin Cindric, not the week I'm sure they were hoping for in the super speedway. I think he can rebound this week, but that is why he slides down to number 20. That's all I have for you guys today. Please, please, please like, comment, and subscribe. Come follow me on X. I've been doing a lot of Olympics coverage. I'm hoping to continue to expand Twitter coverage and be consistent at it again. Last weekend of the Olympics, U.S. men's hockey. Can they follow up the women's hockey team? Where does the United States finish with the medal count? A lot of great college basketball this week. Number 2 versus number 3, Michigan and Duke. All kinds of great things happening. So make sure, everybody, you find a couch. NBA is back. And obviously, make sure you watch this Atlanta race, as they have been electric in the next gen with the new configuration. Find a couch, watch some sports, take care of yourself, stay safe out there. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.